Hello, I'm Tony Sixwing, your host, and here with my co-host Laura Quinting, and today we are pre-recording this episode and next week's episode in the same day due to scheduling conflicts. So you're gonna get to see maybe a little more on the screen. Mostly that's why you see my character here on the screen next to our icon. I don't think we have a character model made for Laura over there. Although it would have made it kind of cool in the editing room to do stuff like that. But welcome to the show, and we're going to talk about some current stuff, how stuff is going on right now with the lockdown and stuff. I'm still working, and so is Laura, but my work is being insanely inconsistent, unfortunately. But thankfully, I got my government money. And I have side gigs I can pull off if I absolutely positively have to, though I don't want to. So, how's it going up there in Michigan right now? I heard you say you were at some sort of sponsorship thing earlier.
I got my 1200. What are you asking about for the work?
Huh? You at some sort of, you said earlier when we were recording out some sort of sponsorship thing?
Yes. So I drove about an hour and a half away because, as a lot of people's jobs are, put on hold when you do social media, that kind of never goes away. So, I went to go to Whole Foods to get some body wash that I got for sponsorship. And then we ended up just getting groceries, and they had toilet paper, so that was very helpful.
You had to go all the way to Lansing to do Whole Foods?
We don't have a Whole Foods in my area, so yes,
so
it had to be specifically Whole Foods.
Oh, lovely. Yes, people, Laura gets sponsor stuff, and I am not active enough like I should be to ever get anything like that. Maybe if I was more active, I'd get that Raid Shadow Legends who seem to sponsor everyone to give me money.
Why are you, like, cutting in and out?
Huh? I'm not cutting in and out.
Yes, you are.
Okay, might not have been close enough. Is that better?
Try again.
Hello?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think my voice just isn't completely hitting the mic. But I'm seeing audio go into my computer. So, for me.
Right.
It happens.
And then, as for my other side gigs that I do, interestingly enough, guys, even though we're told to stay home, people who work at grocery stores, merchandise grocery stores, we still are stuck being very much out and about. So, I've been doing that. It's a lot of traveling and a lot of me being annoyed at people.
Yep.
But it's been okay, I guess.
Well,
interestingly enough, though, when I went to Whole Foods today, I don't know if it was just the area that they had. It was like a little bit different than like the area that I live in, but they had like you had to wait in line outside, and you weren't allowed to go in until someone came out.
Interesting.
So I haven't seen that before. I guess it was maybe a governor thing that maybe the governor is being more tight-knit because she lives in that area. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, we know the governor's a halfwit who's got armed protesters. Granted, I haven't looked too much into that. I heard something about Nazis and political stuff and Trump stuff. You know, I get the protesting, the being locked inside so much, and them not pretty much telling you, guess what, if your economy crashes and you're all homeless at the end of this, that's fine as long as the virus is defeated. Not the best way to go about
I
it.
personally think the people that protested in Michigan are idiots.
The ones who got out of their cars, yes. I can understand the idea behind the protest. Especially when they decided to let you buy a stuffed Olaf from Frozen, but not a beanbag chair in a mile.
Yeah.
You see, that's the thing. They're being arbitrary. That's the problem. They're being arbitrary and not making it the same for everybody. And that's where
I
you
hear
start.
video game sales are at an all-time high. Apparently, Switches are now basically on the black market at this point.
Oh yeah, what else are you gonna do? Thankfully, I'm a PC gamer. I have Steam. I don't have to worry about a lack of supply. Thank you for
I think
Steam.
what's interesting is, like, when it comes to, like, you guys, so a decent amount of people, as you guys know, got their stimulus check of the $1,200. Mine is pending in my account. But I wanted to let you guys know. So we obviously bring up the retail worker confessions group that we're in, and everyone's making a big deal about, oh, did you get your check? Oh, stop bringing up that you brought your check. Oh, I didn't need that check to live. Oh, I needed that check to live. Some of us can't, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, this whole stupid argument of people being like, oh, well, I can't believe you used that check to buy a TV. Well, one, that check was made to stimulate the economy, which to a degree it is. It wasn't meant for you to save forever. Two, it's actually not that weird to be buying a TV when you don't have anything to do. And three, it's money that was given to them, so why do you care?
You see, here's the thing. It'll come back and bite them in their asses.
Right, but that's not your problem.
Exactly. It is none of my problem. That's why I don't understand why people love to get in everybody else's business. You end up doing nothing but pissing each other and everybody else off.
Exactly.
You know, at one point in history, our country's motto was mind your own business.
And now everyone's like, you need to be doing this. Oh, I can't believe you do this. Oh, you support that guy? I can't believe you support that guy.
And of course, I hate to tell the left of the aisle, but they're bungling of this and trying to politicize this beyond. Yeah, the Republicans are trying to politicize this entire situation too. But the way the Democrats are doing it, they're going to lose everything in November. Hate to tell them. Because we have... Our choices here are the evil corporate businessman with his theocratic vice president. A theocrat is someone who wants the church to run the government. And forgetful nicknamed Pedo Joe and potentially the half-wit from Michigan as his running mate. These are not good choices. I can tell you which one people will go with.
Yeah, I think Trump's going to get it again.
Oh, yeah. And after the debacle of trying to impeach him, now trying to impeach him again after they went and told everyone to keep traveling to China when there was evidence being suppressed because they just wanted to believe the Chinese Communist Party, and then calling him a racist for stopping travel to China, that's going to hit him in November too. Because the Democrats have flipped their wording in this entire situation. You see, I don't like everything that Republicans do, but at least they're consistent.
Yeah. See, I feel like I'm more moderate when it comes to my beliefs. Like,
Oh, I am
both
too.
sides have been very stupid when it comes to a lot of things.
Oh, yeah,
but...
no, both sides have bungled this entire situation insanely. We've known for almost 100 years that this thing was going to happen again. And we didn't set aside any extra monetary funds or anything for this. And told everyone that there was such a thing as good debt. Because seriously, if nobody had any debt, and if people actually funded everything with profits and what they and was within their means, including companies, then guess what? We could just shut down the economy for a month, and everybody would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I understand low-wage workers needing to take on some debt to make the ends meet because, or corporatism, not true capitalism, but corporatism, which is what we have, has made it to where the minimum wage can no longer put you in a one-bedroom apartment by yourself. The minimum wage was meant to be that. It's supposed to be a starting livable wage for just one person to live with a bare minimum of comfort for a 40-hour work week. Now people say, oh, it's just a wage. It's just a wage to get going. It's not supposed to be a living wage. Well, then what the fuck is the point of a minimum wage? And because we kept that so low, we've put people who have skills, plumbers, electricians, construction workers, where they have to start out for damn near a decade, still not making a livable wage after having to invest tens of thousands of dollars in loans that they have to take out to get an education and buy their own equipment and their own truck. Because a lot of these guys, just to get the apprenticeship, you have to have your own tools and your own truck. And you have to have gone to school and gotten all these certifications that cost money. And they'll pay you $13 an hour, which is not enough to pay back all the loans you had to take out. And that is the true problem in our country. If we could fix that, everything would be great. But everyone wants to fight against us. Well, we can't afford that because then the price of everything goes up. Well, that only happens because we let it. If you notice, there isn't any competition anymore. People used to say, go to Walmart because it's cheap, go to Meijer because it's cheaper. Actually, to be quite honest, most products are within $1 of each other. I shop at Kroger because I can get stuff cheap with a Kroger card by about $2 for this thing or that thing. But generally, they're within $1 or a few pennies or something. Not enough to really make a difference. Because because what happens is, the retailers don't completely control the prices. The companies that sell it to the retailers, sell to retailers at a price and tell them pretty much what they're going to sell it for.
Right.
So,
like,
instead
the
of letting...
store doesn't magically make the price unless they're doing, like, discounts.
Exactly. Where if we removed that, like cars, the reason you don't have much competition in car lots is because, guess what? They all cost the same, because no matter where you go, because the auto manufacturer has what's called an MSRP, manufacturing suggested retail price. And that suggested isn't a suggestion. And then you got to haggle back and forth and whatnot. And they make more money financing the car than selling it to you. And that sort of conniving, evil, overreaching corporatism is what caused all of this. If corporations didn't borrow money to buy more of their own stock to increase their stock value because people put in more into stock values than profitability and debt-to-income ratios and whatnot, because we worship the almighty stock market in this country, we have gone away from what keeps companies truly solvent and what increases the stock price. I and my research have realized that stocks have nothing to do with the actual health of the economy. Nothing.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can watch very healthy companies and their stock price is plummeting despite the fact they're making record profits. Or it's increasing despite the fact that they just took on a huge loan amount, but it increased because they bought back and took private a bunch of their publicly traded stock to drive up the stock price with debt, making the company, less liquid. Which means they control more debt, and when the economy is doing good, they can afford to pay it back. And they call this good debt because they can use it blah, 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 blah. Now, I understand there is some things like you need to buy a house. Nobody's ever going to... Most people are not going to have the money ever to buy a house cash. Right. Unless they've gone to college for a really good thing, get a really good job, and paid cash for school and whatnot. Most people are going to have to get a mortgage. That's not good debt. Debt is bad. But that is an okay debt to have, because it's a necessary debt. There's a difference between just because something's necessary doesn't make it good.
Right.
And so, that being said, car loans and house loans, they're a part of life. You're going to have one once in a while. If you can get away with not having a car loan or having revolving car payments, great. Personally, I think once I get myself out there, I want to pay cash for the rest of my vehicles. I never buy new because it loses its value, and half the time they will not sell it to you. You must lease it. And then buy it at the end of the lease. They won't just flat out tell you the price to sell it to you. They will tell you monthly payments and this and that when you go buy a new car. So it loses value. They force me to do a lease, which has an exorbitant amount of interest if you do the math on it.
Right.
And I'm essentially renting a car. Remember, people, renting and leasing are the same thing.
Yeah, because it's technically not yours until everything's paid off.
Yeah, essentially, you have to lease the car. Then at the end of the lease, you have to go get a regular car loan for the rest of it, or pay cash for what's left on the car, or you have to turn it in. And if you drove it too much, they'll add more money that you owe them.
Right. I mean, like with me, when I got my car, I bought it, but it was used. So, you know.
Oh, I bought my Chevy Impala I drive used for like $7,500, and after my down payment, it's only $250 a month for 3 years. It had less than 90. It had about 95,000 miles when I bought it. It still got less than 100,000 miles on it.
That's cheap.
It's an 8-year-old car.
And it still runs good?
Oh, it runs fine. Yeah, the only thing is it's got an issue with the evap. It's got an evap, purge valve, gas cap. Something with the emissions keeps turning on the check engine light, and the passenger side seat has a sensor in it that keeps triggering the beeping sound if I don't just keep the seatbelt plugged in the front. You know, minor annoyances, but nothing majorly wrong with it. You know, just minor shit you live with a used car.
Right.
So it's like, it runs good, it starts fine. I'm not worried about it.
Right. And that makes sense. I mean, obviously, even with any car, you're going to have to do some upkeep. Like, my mom, she had to get some coils fixed and small stuff like that. But, you know, it's a freaking car and it's used. So what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, the Jimmy I have from 2000 only has less than 140,000 miles on it. But different stuff kept breaking on it, and it was turning into a lemon. I was putting more money into it, like, on a weekly basis than my new monthly car payment. That's why I went and got a new car.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
So, when all this is said and done, actually I was in the middle of getting ready to sell the Jimmy when all this lockdown happened. Kind of hard to sell a car in your driveway during a lockdown.
Yeah, people aren't exactly too eager to put down some money.
Exactly. So, worst comes to worst, if it gets to be an eyesore, I sell to a tow company for scrap, even though I don't want to, because I wouldn't get damn near anything out of it. But essentially, I'll still be able to get rid of it, you know.
Right.
But here's the thing. With all that being said, the people went and were on this for this government money. Now people expect going around the internet like this $2,000 a month till this is over is going to even ever happen. I wonder what drugs they are on to believe that this will happen. They sound like fun.
Some people are like, oh, well, it'll kill the economy. And I'm like, I highly doubt that's going to even happen. Yeah. Actually, I heard a rumor that the government actually ran out of money to give to small businesses. I'm not entirely sure if that's true.
That was on the news. That they ran out of money and they have to ask Congress to allocate them more.
Oh wow.
Yeah. You see, when you shut down the whole country, it seems to have a bad economic impact, and I do believe the high end of unemployment high unemployment projections put unemployment at the end of this at roughly 35% potentially, and at the height of the Great Depression, unemployment was only 25%.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So we're basically in the Great Depression.
Almost, yeah. And
I mean, I got gas in my area for $1.65, but if you drive like even 30 miles away, it's as low as like $1.30. And if gas is cheap as fuck, that's usually not a good thing.
No. And granted, it's a good thing for our pocketbooks. It's just not a good sign. I mean, I love cheap gas, but when the rest of the economy's going with it...
I mean, I like it that we're no longer in the recession period when it was like $4. But if we get back to $2.50, $2.60, I think that means we're headed in the right direction.
Here's the thing. The economy wasn't shut down overnight. and even my governor said it won't be opened overnight. But at the same thing, it is going to take years to recover from this.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Do you know how many small businesses have gone out of business? And how many large companies are filing bankruptcy?
I haven't really been looking into it because the companies I've been working for are basically in a cash grab right now.
Yeah, well, a lot of these companies, like airline companies, hospitality industry, restaurants, all these huge, massive employers who underpaid all their employees and put themselves in a bunch of debt to up that price and for, the pursuit of greed. Remember, people, greed will bite you in the ass. They are all out of money because they underpaid their employees, so their employees don't have any savings, and then they went on extremely slim margins of profits, so they don't really have a whole lot of cash backup, including many of these small businesses. So yeah. And now I understand the small businesses struggling. Your business, you only have like 50 people that you hired. You're a small restaurant, just yourself and whatnot. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of hard when to compete with the big ones that can afford, because they have so many restaurants, to keep those prices low. Like, if you look at a company like Cracker Barrel, that was my second job. Do you want to know what I learned about the company from when I had that job? What I learned about that company was this. They lose money on their restaurants every year. They make all of their profit from their retail side.
Right.
So those type of strategies, that's why you'll see that if it's not fast food and it's a sit-down restaurant and it's a big chain, they have high price. They have pretty high prices, a lot of them. And they say, I specialize in this. You can get a reasonable price meal at a small diner, and it'll taste better and fill you up more than the crap that you get at the other place. But in the same thing, that's them trying to compete with that guy, and that guy could actually drop his prices, but even lower, but he wants to make some sort of profit. Restaurants have a notoriously low profit margin just because it costs so much to have the equipment, keep it clean, buy the food, and resell the food, cooking and everything else. There's a lot of overhead for a restaurant, no matter its size. Unlike retail, where, from what I know, standard retail is, they charge you 3 times what they got it for.
Exactly. I've seen the numbers, like, I think when I was doing my one job, they give us a planogram, and they tell you, okay, here's the items, and then this is where they're supposed to go, this is, how you're supposed to put them on the shelf. Well, it would actually say the percent upcharge, and some of these items were like 50% upcharge, 25% upcharge, and I'm like, that's a freaking lot of upcharge.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. You have to upcharge to make a profit. I understand, a big space like a store takes a lot of electricity to run. You got to pay everybody. I get that. You got to make money. You got to make a profit. There's no point in having a business if you can't make a profit. But at the same token, if you pay everyone a living wage, and you don't need to have this huge profit margin if you don't take on a lot of debt. So if your company focuses on being a debt-free company and you pay everyone a livable wage, then everyone who makes that livable wage will spend money and help keep the economy growing. So if you grow the wages with the economy just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Good companies thrive, bad companies collapse, and that is what capitalism is. You pay everyone enough to live on so that they can turn around and spend that money. But what these companies did was they paid people just enough to shop at their store with their discount. So the majority of their employees' income past, rent, lights, and, necessities goes back to the company by them purchasing stuff in the store They working because they can only afford to buy stuff with the company discount at that store, which is another way they keep wages down.
Right.
So, with all that being said, try and get back to this whole lockdown thing. If we had done that, if we had set up a stockpile of ventilators, a stockpile of beds, like we should have, we've had 100 years that we could have been stockpiling this stuff. Guys.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we were deciding to go to war with everybody who's none of our business and decide to play politics and figure out what gender someone needs to be called. Because I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. Which is a meme because everyone's coming up with this made up shit. Oh, look at me.
Yep.
I'm really a wolf. Roar. How? Oh, whatever. I mean, I don't mind a guy in a fursuit any more than the next guy. You know, those suits are actually kind of cool. But just because you wear one doesn't mean you need to say, I am this. There's a point where you must accept reality, and I do believe our society decided not to accept reality, and I told people years ago that unlike the last pandemic and depression, because of the lack of gardening and home maintenance skills of our generation, and even our parents' generation, our society will be hit a lot harder this time because we lost those skills and declared them non-essential, declared them useless, and thought it was more essential to know how to code for a program on a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, learning to program and learning to be or learning to do this and that does not prevent you from learning how to fix your own car, do your own minor plumbing, and have a garden.
Exactly.
You do not have. I understand not everyone is going to have the skill to forge metal, but basic survival skills are not that hard to learn. You don't have to give those up just to know how to do your other job. You know, everyone should know how to make a campfire. Everyone should know how to fish. Everyone should know how to cook.
Right.
You know?
Like with me, one of the jobs that I had to do yesterday, that was in a town over, it was at a place called, I don't know if you've ever been to it, but it's called, well, there's two places. One of them was called Flowerland, which I had to turn around because that place is actually closed till May 1st. And the other place is called Family Farm and Home. Well, they ended up being fucked because it was only recently that everyone decided to be into gardening and shit. So they were out of seeds because it wasn't selling that good before. But now because of this quarantine and because they have deemed gardening shit to be unessential at Home Depot, Lowe's, blah, 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 those are basically the only places that sell it. Ergo, they've been out of stuff.
And let me tell you this one right now, guys and gals out there. The whole making gardening equipment non-essential exists solely to keep you dependent on the system. They don't want you to have your own garden, because if you have your own garden, you don't have to worry about there being stuff at the store to eat when the food shortages happen. Because they won't be able to control you with that. That is the plot behind that. Because think about it. If gardening was declared essential and everybody bought seeds and stuff, wouldn't that not help keep everyone at home because they could tend to their garden and get stuff out of their garden and have to go buy it at the store, and help the stores and the supply chain to recover because people were growing and constructing their own stuff instead of buying it from the big box retailer? You know, a good thing.
Exactly.
It's the whole thing. They want, when the food shortages start, they want you dependent on them. They don't want you to have your own garden. That's why in a lot of cities, even a community garden will be banned. In some cities, you're not allowed to collect rainwater because the government declares the rainwater doesn't belong to you, that belongs to the city. in some
That's a
places.
thing?
Yes, and in some urban areas, a homeowners association will tell you can't have a garden because they don't like gardening. And everything needs to look like urban America. That's why I don't live in subdivisions, and I never will. Because everything's designed to keep you dependent on the system. They do not want you to be independent.
I didn't even think about it that way.
Well, come on. If they control your food, they control everything.
Yes, that's very true.
And that's part of the reason these guys are rioting, or on the verge of rioting, but currently protesting in places like Michigan and other places. Yes, some of them are holding signs and such that should not be there. And you should not take your young children to a protest, especially in the middle of a pandemic, and they should have all been wearing masks, or at least staying in their vehicles.
I guess I understand it, but to an extent, they are probably going to be the reason why we have another hike of people getting this thing.
Here's the thing. Yes, if you want to protest it, but do not be stupid about how you do so. You want to go and show that you have arms and that you will use violence to defend your rights if you have to against this person being tyrannical? Sure, but make sure you have most people in their cars and a few scattered people, 6 feet apart, social distancing, and wear masks. So that if you're sick, you don't give it to each other. Masks won't keep you from getting it, but it will help keep you from giving it to somebody else. So they should have left their young children at home, because young children have no place in a place like this. Because here's the thing. What happens when they go to do one of these peaceful protests, and like in the 60s, the government becomes violent during it? Then that small child is caught up in the violence of what the government's actions turned into a riot. Protests are not, even peaceful protests are not always a safe activity. Now, I understand in the 60s, the civil rights movement, the children being with them, because they weren't safe at home either. Might as well keep them right next to you, and if the children are there, then, public opinion, if the government tries to do something against, they're this, but they're still children,
Right.
But these days, the media likes to spin things, and the media has hyped this up beyond all imagining. And if you look at my area is not that densely, well, it's medium density population, and most of our cases in my area are 1 here, 2 there, 3 there. We're a population of 300,000 in my area, and we have less than 200 cases.
Not too bad. How many have died?
So, just a second, I gotta look up. Okay, in my county, we have 271 confirmed cases, 16 deaths. Out of 300,000 people. So, yes, you don't want to lay guard down and, all crowd into one area, and spread the thing, obviously. But at the same time, unless you live in a densely populated urban area, you are probably not even going to come in contact with this. Unless you live in a densely populated urban area or work in a place such as, I don't know, a large Amazon warehouse where they hide the fact that somebody had it so it can spread like wildfire.
Yeah, yep.
Here's the thing. This thing spread because of a combination of 3 things. 1, attempts by the Communist Party in China to make themselves look better or look okay and cover up a disaster. Communists always cover up a disaster. They try to cover up SARS. They tried to cover up stuff in the Soviet, and then when Soviets had Chernobyl, they tried to cover it up. And then everyone wanted to say, oh, look, all the places with the best outcome, they all had women leaders. I'm like, they also all don't trust the Communist Party by their word. That's the thing. like here in America, if we had kept the flights to China, we probably would have had it way worse right now. So there's that. 2, you have corporate greed and people not wanting to pay people, causing people to have to go to work when they're sick. And I believe I said this years ago, that the fact that people have to go to work when sick, or they might even be fired for not showing up to work at low-wage jobs, is how these things would spread when this happened. And that's exactly how it's spreading.
Right.
And 3, corporate greed, wanting to keep stuff open and keep things moving as fast as humanly possible without any cleanliness, without doing anything to protect their employees, because they'd rather make money than actually protect them. And they'd rather them all end up getting sick and died because they can always hire new ones. Because though your employees should be your most valuable asset, companies have come to see them as a liability.
That's about it.
If companies took care of their employees, if we hadn't decided in the pursuit of the almighty dollar to go construct everything and make a communist country that has an insanely high poverty and rural area rate, make our shit for poverty wages, because it would increase the profit margin, because guess what? They could still make it here in America, pay everyone here a living wage, and sell it for damn near the same price and make a profit. The profit just wouldn't be as much.
That's very true.
But because they decided to go put it somewhere where they don't care about human rights, workers' rights, or anything to keep those people safe, and prop up a dictatorial, secretive, oppressive regime that allows these things to happen, it not only allowed them to try to get away with covering it up, it made it to where that China was such a center of trade because of this greed, that it caused this thing to get out of China and spread like wildfire. If we had not centralized almost all production for everyone in China, then guess what? We would not have this problem, because there would not be as much trade to China carrying the virus.
Yes, exactly. People are idiots.
No shit. We have had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to get things fixed, to get back on the right track. But we keep losing our way.
Yep.
And to be quite honest, if we don't open up here soon, at least parts of the economy, if we face a 35% unemployment rate, people, there will be a civil war. Because you know what that means? That means almost half the people are out of work. You know what happens when people are out of work and can't feed their families and you're at 50% unemployment? And a lot of those people were supporting their families on multiple jobs or even 2 incomes, but both lost their income. People get desperate.
Yep.
So you either end up with anarchy or civil war. Have any of you looked at Venezuela lately, because no one could afford food? And there were shortages of everything. A combination of people's panic buying and the media hyping the fear and the government bungling up the entire response. And I'm not going to point at just the Democrats or Republicans. They both fucked up. Plain and simple. They both fucked up. But between those 3 things, we are now in a precarious position. And now you got China trying to say that the American military created the virus and gave it to China in order to make them look better and vilify the U.S. Is what the Chinese state-run media is saying in China. With their propaganda.
Why the hell would they say that?
Because they're China. They don't like us. They've been...
But yeah, we are basically their biggest profit, aren't we?
Yes, but you forget, they made us into their biggest profit so that we be dependent on them, so they can control us, because guess what? We need them to give us our goods. We don't play by their rules, they can start to withhold those goods.
Because we decide to not pay our own people to make the shit. We want to be cheap and pay them.
Pretty much, which is why everything is made in China and Vietnam. And Vietnam is still a communist country. And, you know, one thing that people must read in order to understand what's going on in the politics in the world, you should read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I actually have a copy. Let's see here. Anyways, in one spot it says, fight the enemy where he's not. You know, don't go after him in open combat. It essentially says, if you're going to fight a war, be asymmetric about it. Asymmetric warfare. Essentially, Sun Tzu says all warfare should be conducted guerrilla style, which is very hard to fight. And if they don't watch it, armed rebellion may be a possibility here soon.
Yep.
And
I'm hoping we don't reach that point. I'm sure the panic buying, I feel like, is still not very good because, like, I mean, I was able to get toilet paper at Whole Foods, but when I went to get toilet paper at Meijer, it was still very out.
It depends where you go. But some places are getting better than others.
Yeah. Like, they're stocking more. They actually canceled Cherry Festival, which I think is gonna basically crush where we lived.
Yeah, being everyone made all their profit during
Cherry Festival. One of the restaurants, J&S Hamburg, that's been around for a really long time, actually, like, most of their profits was made during that week, so they're like, well, fuck, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, without that, yeah, for those you guys who don't know, when you live in a tourist community with one big festival, that festival pays for everything for the entire year. For most places in the town. And by the way, that town has an effective minimum wage of $11 an hour due to lack of labor. And you still cannot pay rent without having 7 roommates. Because rent is so high.
During the summer, I think was the only time that town was profitable.
Yeah. Because of the high cost of living there, which is mostly just in housing. Everything else there is relatively reasonably priced, you know. If you ever noticed when we lived there. Most of the shit in town was reasonably priced. But on the flip side, because the rent was so damn high, no one could afford to live there. So there was no labor to run anything. Which meant places had to shut down to lack of labor. And because of that, the laborers couldn't spend money back to invest back into the town during the off-season. Because the local government decided, let's up property value so we can up property taxes so rent can go up again, even though we have not upped anyone's wages in years. Remember, everyone, when government gets involved, it makes things worse. Most of the time. Because they wanted to do that so they can get more property taxes. All it did was bankrupt more people. And that town was already dying. This may be the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, the straw that broke the camel's back. Essentially, okay, let's allow me to explain kind of like this. Imagine a camel or something is barely holding the weight behind it. You put one more straw in it and its back breaks. So the straw that broke the camel's back. So it means it's the last bit of weight to finally make something break. At least that's the way I interpret it.
Interesting.
And that's going to happen in a lot of places in this country. Because a lot more places are like that than people realize. Because like where I live, yeah, you can get a one-bedroom apartment for about $650 a month.
Right.
But nothing's included. It's going to be something that is probably refurbished Section 8 housing that's been taken private and is no longer Section 8. No built-in washers and dryers. You have to pay for electricity, cable, and water separate. You have thin-ass walls that you can hear your neighbors. And that's for half of a lot of people's take-home pay. If they're working 40 hours a week. That doesn't include the car they need to get to work, depending on where they live and how close they are to public transportation and how close they are to work. The car insurance, the fuel for the car, their need for food. If you're not in debt, you can make a living, but when most jobs in your area only pay $11 to $12 an hour, and a lot of rent's almost $1,000 a month, you start to see a little bit of a problem here. It's unsustainable. And guess what? In a crisis like this, that unsustainability comes straight to the forefront.
Yep.
So, I don't know what everyone out there expected, but this is what happens. And we pretty much might not be able to handle it. Not trying to scare anybody, I actually have much hope for the future. But, although you won't get this reference, Laura, as Garrick on Star Trek Deep Space Nine once said, "En contraire, I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist. I always hope for the best. Experience, unfortunately, has taught me to expect the worst."
I definitely wouldn't get that.
Well, you get the meaning of it anyways.
Yeah.
Essentially, always be prepared. Always be prepared. Granted, I will warn you guys, though we are getting close to the end of this episode's time, I do want to warn you guys, do not completely listen to every doomsday prepper out there. Because while I was listening to some of the stuff they are saying, some of these guys are also selling doomsday prepping stuff, and they're kind of making a lot of money right now doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, if someone's selling a product that is connected to what they're talking about and their goals, be suspicious. Just like if you go to that InfoWars site from that Alex Jones dude, whom you have to go to his site to listen to his radio show or whatever now because they took him off the app, they took him off Google and everything else. But here's the thing. He's being crazy, but he's also always advertising something he's selling, like a water purifier or something else. He makes money off the paranoia of the conspiracy theory. Granted, if you guys want to watch a good documentary that'll really open your eyes to a lot of stuff the media does and is doing right now, I would suggest you all go watch the movie Hoaxed. It was taken off Amazon, but you can still get it and watch it on Vudu.
I've never heard of Voodoo.
Voodoo's another site. Did you ever see that ultraviolet sticker on some DVDs a while back?
No.
Well, ultraviolet was a Voodoo thing where you would buy the DVD, then put the code into Voodoo, and they would give you a digital copy of the movie. That's been discontinued, but you can still watch that digital content in your Voodoo library. But, of course, Amazon doesn't like the way it went after them a little bit, so Amazon not only removed it from their site, but removed it from people's Amazon libraries, despite them paying for it. Remember, people, trust nothing the media tells you. Don't even trust us. We might be full of shit. Do your own research.
Yep. So we will end this episode, and then we'll be starting the next one.
Yep. We will see you guys next week. And, well, you'll see us next week, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. See you later.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.